Alright, what's up? What's everybody doing? It's your boy, and it's time to check out these markets today. So first, I want to look at the forex factory and see what we got going on. So it is 9:12. That's correct. Just had some AUD news. Looks like there's a little bit of Euro news Thursday and Friday, but other than that, pretty chill news on the week, so that's good. Alright, so first of all, we're going to go weekly, daily, 4-hour on this analysis. Alright, and looking at the weekly time frame on the dollar. So last week did end in a bullish week, so anything to the downside this week should be a little cautious, even though, you know, price never fully came back to this area yet. I still think it's possible. Definitely still think it's possible for price to come back down here before it continues higher. We are at this area of, you know, supply. We had big supply come in here. Supply came in here. So, you know, we're at that area of supply right now. It very well could respect and fall to the downside here. But longer term, I'm expecting the dollar to start to pick up. Now, I am hearing some stuff about COVID coming back and all this whack stuff. So if that's the case, then we'll probably see this fall. Probably even lower than that. But with the Fed's talking about the interest rates, that should make the dollar move up. Now, ultimately, I want to see something like that. So let's see what the lower time frames look like. So far this week, we're getting possible rejection at this supply area. So let's look at the daily and see what that candle left. Right, so we do have a nice little wick right here on the daily. We do have this reversal pattern. So I am leaning towards, you know, this starting to correct down. There was even some divergence here on the MACD as price is moving up, and we just have a nice little reversal pattern. So I'm leaning towards this headed back down to 90.5. Maybe not this week, maybe not next week, but eventually trying to head back down here before it makes its move past this area. On the 4-hour time frame, what I would really like to see is one or two things. I would like to see it break below here to get a move to the downside, or I would like to see it at least form some type of head and shoulders pattern. Right here, it's pretty risky to take the short to the downside. It's at the best risk to reward area, but it's still a little risky in my opinion. There was a nice little move down during New York, right when New York opened. Price had slammed down, it's corrected, and it could very well make this move just like that. There's still areas like right here where we have high demand, so you got to watch out for those areas. I'm going to mark this off for myself. So this would need to break for me to be very much bearish. This little lower time frame demand area right here, that's pretty much the area of structure that I'm looking, that if this can break, then we should see downside movements on the dollar this week. But nothing yet is really telling me that the dollar is just going to drop, except that there was this nice little 2-candle dropout during New York. That's like the only thing I'm really seeing. I would like to see a little bit more divergence on the lower time frames to form, right? So if price can go ahead and make one more push up, that would maybe give a little bit of divergence. I don't really want to hang around on the 15-minute time frame too much, but this, you can see there was a little break of structure here on the 15-minute, and I'm sure a lot of people are looking at this and looking for a continuation to the downside. I'm not against that either. That's kind of a little bit of a lower probable setup just because it's only on the 15, and of course the higher time frames aren't kind of flowing with that yet. This would be like catching the very top of the move to the downside right here. So it's definitely a possibility, and if I were to look at it, I would need it to come up a little bit higher. And at this point, there's just these equal highs right here as well that are probably going to get hit first before that drops off. But it could be a move, definitely. MACD fell out, so let me look at the euro and see if there's any. Yeah, it's going to be the opposite, pretty much. I had looked at this for the intraday move. Let me just delete this for now. And let's see what this weekly looks like. Alright, so we're getting some rejection here. That's a little bit more rejection to the downside on the euro than there was to the upside on the dollar. Definitely coming into this demand area. So I like that. For the upside, it would need to really break through this pretty heavily for me to, you know, not think this is going to respect. Let's go to the daily. The daily has the reversal pattern the other way. That's why I'm kind of leaning towards a little correction off this drop. But ultimately, I do want this demand to break, and I do want the euro to start to move to the downside towards, you know, these areas right here. Some liquidity down here at 1.1612. That's kind of the next area I want to see it get to, but it never really came back up here after it fell out. It never really came back into this area. I'm just gonna make it yellow, and I would like to see it come, you know, ultimately do something like this, move up there, and once it gets up here, this is when I'll be looking for it to start to swing to the downside. But that's a little bit a ways away. With yesterday's candle and the volume with it, I'm thinking it might want to move to the upside a little bit. So let's go to the lower time frames. Let's see what we got going on. So 4 hour, no structures broke into the upside yet. It's still pretty much in this bearish falling wedge. Hopefully it will break out. Once this does break out, we should see price move to the upside pretty nicely. On the 1 hour, this is where there was a little bit of pop because the dollar dropped. So we had this pop right here, and this is the area of structure that really needs to break to confirm a move up, right, all the way over here. But on these lower time frames, you can definitely see that there was nice volume that picked up right here. We're having this little flag right now. So what I'll be looking for tomorrow during New York is a play like this, sweeping out these lows and then making a move to the upside. I'll be looking at something like that for tomorrow, definitely. And if it does continue to the downside a little bit, it's probably going to do something like this and then reverse and do exactly what I want it to do. So I'll also be watching for something like that if it's a loss. These lows are kind of close, so this could be a form of liquidity. If price, it's already bull flagging out right now, so I might even wait for a fake out and a move up, and then play this lower time frame area. That's something I'll be looking at tomorrow. I'm going to actually put an alert here on the 78.6. AU. On the weekly, hasn't really stopped going down yet. So, last week's candle was a very bearish candle. You can see that right here. But we're coming up into this 200 EMA, which could hold us some support. Let me see what this swing looks like from here to here. Right at the 61.8 as well. So there could be some support formed here. The demand definitely was in last year, so it could hold right here for a little bit. I'm not really here for the just straight up reversal yet. Not after yesterday's candle, so it's still pretty bearish. If I'm gonna find a spot to really try to look to take this up, it's good for me. It's gonna be here at the 78.6. So I'm just gonna place this here and delete the fib. That'll be a spot that I'll be looking for some maybe lower time frame opportunities. It has the same type of wedge pattern here. It's just not as clean. So this one is actually broken through the bottom of the wedge. And so that might mean it's a failed pattern. We'll have to wait. If it comes back into this area, then we can assess it to the upside. But for now, I'm still thinking this has some downside movement. Let me look at the 1 hour. Yeah, the 1 hour is not showing much divergence yet. So I'm still kind of in favor of this to go to the downside, especially if the dollar does continue up. This is definitely going to continue to the downside. But if the dollar has some drop to it, like it might, then we'll see this probably head up to at least this 50 EMA. Maybe right here is probably where it's going to get to, and then drop again. So if you would like to play the correction, that's on you. I don't really see a great setup with it, so I'm going to skip AU for myself. I'm going to note that I liked Euro. Okay, GU. Let me look at the weekly first. What did I do last week? Last week closed with a bearish candle. Complete closure bearish. So anything to the upside this week is really risky. Let's see, coming into this 50 EMA right here. I'm going to note this for myself, 50 EMA. So that might be a spot that we see some lower time frame rejection. Yesterday closed with a bear candle and high volume. So we should see this continue to the downside, starting to almost break through this little supply area or demand area here. So we'll probably see this thing start to fall a little bit. It could hold here, but ultimately I would just look for this to continue to the downside this week. I'm not looking at this as a reversal. We have a pretty big volume or pretty big momentum drop right here with the slow line down, so this would be something that I would even maybe look to fib and try to catch to the downside once it comes back up. The correction for me isn't there yet. There's no divergence with the MACD, so it could correct, but with it breaking this low right here yesterday, I'm thinking we're probably going to see it move up. Now, it didn't break it it broke it completely, but if it comes back up in here, it might kind of look like a little bit of respect. But for me, I'm probably going to play this here like this and look for some opportunities in this area for sells. You can see it lines up pretty good with the volume. To me, it looks like the pound is starting to drop, so I'll be looking for bearish opportunities on GU this week, most likely. Unless we get a crazy impulse to the upside, that'll be the only way I really look to play the bulls. Looks like on the lowest time frame that I would play has this possibility of moving up, but for me, I would even just take it to like right there. So, not really liking GU. UChef, I had drawn something up earlier today. Let me delete this and let's get a good look at this on the weekly. Okay, so last week it closed bullish, but it's still in this little corrective phase. Overall, I still would like to see it come down a little bit further, but it's starting to look like it might not. On the daily, it closed with this kind of a rejection up and then closed bearish. So this might be heading down. So this is the area that I would really like to see it come down into. And ultimately, it's just a fib from here to here into this area, right? Just broke this pretty clean area and never came back to it. So I'm just waiting for price to come back into that for like a higher probability area to look to trade off of. But on the lower time frames, right, it's kind of in this corrective phase. You can see how it's just kind of going sideways at this point. So kind of got to be careful when the price is kind of going a little sideways. This is the area that I really wanted to get into, but there's a couple opportunities here. So we might take a look at some of these. The first one is this right here is what I want to see. So from here to here, price did reject off of this 78 or 61.8, and it did start to fall. So we could see price make it down into there this week. That's a definite possibility. I personally wanted it to come up a little bit higher into the 78.6. So I'm still looking for that to happen, honestly. There's a area right here as well that we had some manipulation at, where price faked to the downside and then moved up. So if price can come back into this, that's another area that I'll be looking for a possible trade opportunity to the upside. So I would actually like to see this come into this right here, and it lines up almost perfectly with the 78.6. And I would like to see this come into this and then make a move to the upside. So I'll be watching for that tomorrow, most likely. That's what I'm going to be playing. I know that there is a little bear flag right here too. So on the lower time frames, if price makes it, you can see it lines up really well. If price can make it up into the 78.6, I'll be trying to short it before I go long down here. So let me make sure I can get this alert set here. This will be the bullish 78.6, and this would be the bearish 78.6. 15 minutes, bearish 78.6. So those are two ideas that I'm looking for on USHEF. I like USHEF right now. Looks like some opportunities at least. UJ. UJ didn't do much last week. Kind of up and down. Now it's starting to kind of fall a little bit. Maybe some rejection already to start the week. Kind of ugly. Daily closed very bearish, but that wick right there, so gotta watch for that. I still think it has some downside once it retraces, so I'll be leaning towards the downside on UJ, and this is what I'll be looking for on UJ. A correction and then another move to the downside. So this will be a zone that I'll be looking to play for the downside on UJ. Needs to come up a little bit, and then I'll be looking to take it down. Because it looks like to me structure starting to shift completely on the, at least the 4-hour time frame. It was making higher highs and higher lows. And then we got this shift right here. We got a lower high, now we just got a lower low. So I'll be looking for another lower high to create another lower low on UJ. See if that 1 hour, yeah, the 1 hour is flagging out nicely right now. So if it can come back into this area that broke structure, got some good volume up here, this looks like a pretty good setup for the downside. Okay, let's see what the GBPs are really looking like. So EG finally looks like it could be moving to the upside after forever and ever of just waiting. Yes, last week's candle gave this little rejection down here into this zone that we've been talking about for, I feel like, ever. It did finally get down into that price, and you can see it's starting to expand out. So it did come into this area, rejected, and then starting to fly. So this will be something I'll be looking forward to go to the upside this week. And if it doesn't go this week, then wow, that will be hilarious if it makes a lower low off this. But no, you can see the clear impulse in the MACD here. The momentum is to the upside. So at this point, I'm just going to be waiting for a retracement. So I'll take it from this swing here up, and I'm just going to be waiting for price to come back down into this zone down here for a move to the upside. So that'll definitely be something to watch for this week. Like I said, I think the pound is going to get weak, which would cause this to continue to go up. So maybe at first, pound might be a little strong at the beginning of the week. Hopefully it is, so we can bring this down. But it's like a clear, almost a textbook setup So we should see a retracement on this. I'm not playing the retracement. There is no divergence. We're just making higher highs in the momentum right now. So if it can just correct down into these areas and then move to the upside, that will be a really good looking setup for the week. And I'm liking just the trend and everything right here. So let this come down. This looks like one of the better setups for the week. Once it gets into here, I would like to see something like that. Really like that setup. I'm liking UJ, I'm liking EG. So GJ, last week called the sell on GJ and it just tanked heavy. It called 2 sells on GJ last week and it was a good bearish week. So both of those played out. Well, one of them barely hit my stop actually, no cap. But the first one just sunk. The second one would have hit TP2, but yesterday, very bearish day on UJ, or GJ, so I'm not trying to buy it right here. I know it just came right into this demand. It would need to form some type of divergence for me to look to buy it, because we do have high volume with a very bearish candle. So to me, I do think this is going to continue dropping, but it might do something like this first, right? We got the left, the head, and then the right shoulder might form first. So it might take a little bit longer than I'd like it to. Let me clear this off real fast. 4 hour, and it's almost the same thing as UJ. There's a nice impulse down, and I'd like to wait for it to retrace back up and then to move down. A lot of volume up here though, so it's kind of an area that price might get a little bit higher than I'd like it to go. I'm taking it from this last little swing down, and I'll be looking for trades in this area. So all the GBPs look similar, right? GU looks like this. EG is the inverse of this. So I'm just playing this little trend that it's been following. Nothing special on that. On the 1 hour, if it does create some type of divergence in this area, then it might be a good play to send up, right? If it does fall a little bit here and create maybe this like type of pattern in this area, this would be something that I might look for to take up. But until it creates some type of divergence, I'm just sticking with the trend and the momentum, basically. GA. Ooh. So this shows me that the Aussie has been in some play, definitely. All right. It's kind of wicking up here at this area. It's definitely a price it has respected in the past. A little bit higher maybe. But you can see this clean weekly zone that we're at, right? Resistance, resistance, support, support. Now we're at resistance again. I'm in favor of this to the downside. Weekly wick or a daily wick yesterday. Doesn't mean it's just going to tank. Just a little warning sign with the high volume. Sellers definitely could be coming in. So what I'm going to be looking for, since it's at a higher time frame supply area, I'm going to be looking for structure to start to form to the downside to take this thing down. To me right now, it's just a little too sideways. It doesn't really have any clean impulsive moves or clean anything. So once it starts to break out, maybe like even on a 15-minute, I don't know, not even really. It's a little too sideways still for me. So I'm just waiting for this thing to start to roll to the downside to get some clear, a little bit clearer of a picture of what it's going to do. And then at that point, I'll be looking to take it down, but it's not ready yet for me. All right, in EA was a great call that we called last week. Just want to see what we saw real quick. Big impulse out of pretty much a daily area. It was a daily fib. We played it off this daily candle, and it's almost hit the TP of the extension on the daily. So it was just making higher highs, and we waited for this lower time frame breakout here, and pretty much caught this whole ride up. So there was this move right here that broke out. We caught it from here, and then from there on it just took up. I'm looking at this to continue, I think, this week. It doesn't, to me, doesn't look like it's just gonna slam down. Let me get this little area right here. Are we in that yet? So we did come into that. Okay, a little bit of resistance here. We still got this bullish candle, so it doesn't, to me, it doesn't look like it's just gonna turn here. Maybe correct. And if it does, it will be from here to here. So this will be the next little play I look for on EA, because I do think this can continue up. I don't think this is a strong zone. Let me really look at this again. It's definitely an area that it could resist that, but ultimately, overall it just looks like it's going to keep going, in my opinion. It might be an area to look for lower time frame divergence. Let's see. Is this 4 hour diverging a little bit? Oh, it is. Okay, let me see if the 1 hour is. 1 hour is not yet. So that's what I'll be waiting for. I'll either be waiting for this to correct nicely or show some 1 hour divergence to look for sells. Because if it does make another move up here, this is definitely an area where it has respected before in the past, so I'm not against looking for sells right here, but also don't want to just get blown through on this daily momentum. So more in favor of this just to correct down and then move with the little trend that we got going on here. I like GJ too. I'll keep this on my watch list, but I don't love it. Okay, gold. Ooh, gold looks like it's about to pop. Yesterday's candles looking like this thing is going to continue to the upside, at least to this area. Let me see what the weekly looked like last week. Indecision last week, but held off this 50. Yeah, I think we're going to see some upside on gold. I want to see it come to here at the very least. So definitely some upside left in my overall opinion. I want to see it get up here into 1870. It's not a trade idea off of it right now, just because this wick right here is kind of the area that you would have wanted to look for possible buys. It probably would have stopped me out if I was playing yesterday. Yeah, but I didn't trade. I only trade on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and sometimes Fridays. So this could be an area that, if it does correct down in here, maybe look for a buying opportunity. So fast, I'm gonna look down in here, and it does have this like quick down move, quick up move. So I'm gonna put an alert here on it. But I doubt it gets down there. It's got some 15-minute divergence right now. It might correct down there, but it looks like to me it's probably just going to fall a little bit and then keep going to the upside. Kind of 50-50. It does have this little trend break. It could start heading down, but to me, with the way that daily candle looked, I think it's going to continue up. Not a lot of volume right here. It came into that area, showed that there's not any orders down there. If it comes back in here again, it'll be kind of risky. Probably won't play it, but I'm going to keep the alert there just in case nothing else gives me any opportunities. And then looking forward to extend up pretty much into these areas. Still waiting on this little imbalance to get filled, and then ultimately would like to see it come up into the 78.6 for a higher probable area that I would be looking for lower time frames to fall out. Okay, the VIX is popping, right? So, man, I've been saying that this thing is pretty low. I've been saying that it's pretty low, and when it gets down that low, it's not smart to continue to buy the indices. It is what it is. When it gets down into these areas of like the teens, 14s, low teens, it's just eventually it's going to pop. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to continue to pop, but right now I'm leaning towards that, right? I'm leaning towards this thing doing some damage to the upside. Daily, the momentum is starting to get there. I know it did leave a little wick, but I've been saying for a long time, watch out for these indices to drop, and now they're starting to drop a little bit. The VIX is popping. I'm leaning towards the upside on the VIX, so maybe a little correction here, fill this gap, and then I'm looking for another move to the upside on the VIX. Ended the day pretty bearish, but ultimately I want to see this come down a little bit and then move up. So these should be pretty bearish. Just look at this weekly candles. So last week it closed with a nice bearish candle. I'm still in favor of these two continue down. On the daily, it left a wick. That might have been the buy the dip scenario, I'm not sure. On the 4 hour though, came into this 200. I like the shift in structure here. I'm leaning towards the downside still. So this will be something to look at. Let me see what these other ones look like. Oh yeah, big time, definitely. Now, I know last week I pretty much said this is an area to look to buy from though, so let me see. Well, I'm still bearish on him. I'm thinking that this is a scenario where things are probably going to start to get bad again for the virus. It just is all lining up technically. So I'm looking at this definitely as an area to the downside, and same thing with the S&P. It's structure broke with some force, not just like a little break, right? Structure broke and it gave big momentum to the downside. So this is just a good looking play to me. Gonna look to take these down this week for sure. I usually don't play the indices, but this week I'm gonna have to play these because I think we have some downside coming. Now, if I'm wrong, then this was the bottom of the week, pretty much. That's how that goes. This is either the bottom of the week or this is going to get ran through at some point this week after it comes up here. So There could be some retracement opportunities. I might look at that as well, just because, um, you know, I want to see it come up a little higher. So I might look at those as well tomorrow morning to see if they're going to retrace up. But the way they fell, I do think there's going to be some more downside by the end of the week. Just like the Bitcoins. Oof. Well, there goes Biddy. So yeah, these things are about to start to drop pretty good, I think. Crypto market is probably going to sink a little bit. I'm looking at least 23 at the very highest number. It's probably going to sink below that. So let's bring these out. And yeah, 17K seems a little bit more realistic, to be honest. I think 27 is going to get blown through. 17K is looking pretty solid for Bitcoin at this point. I mean, I guess if it leaves a wick here at the end of the week and it goes up, there's a possibility. But to me, there's just it looks like that there's not enough demand, and I can tell you there's going to be more demand down at these lower prices because these big institutions haven't got their piece in yet, and they want to get it in down there, I'm sure. So there is still that reversal pattern look to it. As it fell, it's just correcting kind of slowly down here. But if this breaks, pretty much, this thing is probably going to fall with some force. People are going to start to just pull out of the market. So there's still this area that there's a lot of demand at, that it's pretty much at, that it hasn't broken yet. But if it breaks that, there's not a lot of volume left for this thing to hold, and it's most likely going to go to the next area of volume quick. So just be aware of that. Don't try to buy the cryptos on margin because they're cheap or they're low and that you could maybe catch it up here. I wouldn't even do that. I would look to dollar cost average as much as you can right now, especially on things like Ethereum. Ethereum is, I literally can't stress it enough how this thing is going to be worth. It could be worth more than Bitcoin one day. The value of it is the whole crypto market is going to be pretty much ran off of Ethereum one day, the whole blockchain. So I personally have been stacking Ethereum more than anything. Every week I have I either buy it on Friday or Saturday, and just whatever price it's at, as long as it's down here, I put some in my wallet. And it's cheaper than it was last Friday, so I'll be buying more, and I just continue to buy more. Now there is big time divergence right here on this, so hopefully this holds and this does start to move to the upside. But this is another one where if it breaks here, it's pretty much gonzo. So if it breaks this, we're looking in the hundreds for sure. Thousands are going to be gone, probably 800 or so. So I mean, this could be the area, and it's probably going to go lower than that. Let me bring out this log chart real quick and see where the last real swing was. Maybe even all the way down here. So yeah, we're probably going to see 1,000 on this. Let me get that off. Probably going to see 1K or less on Ethereum overall. And I know the whole Wyckoff cycle, it's not really looking likely. What we're waiting for is on the daily for there to be an absolute fat wick to the downside and it close bullish, or close relatively close to where it opened. Because if we don't see that, then there's just no demand, right? There's no demand. There needs to be some type of fake out and then move up, or else this thing is just going to slowly continue to trickle down. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing with Litecoin. These areas here, I mean, it's already corrected 78% from where it was. So Litecoin to me is probably going to end up around $50, maybe a little less, before it makes its move up. It definitely has this like reversal pattern to it as well. Definitely has 3-wave divergence, so it has like potential to reverse, but it's probably going to make one more push down before that happens, around that $50 area. And then XRP, I mean, 53 cents now. Sheesh. XRP is a little bit more choppy looking than all of them, but I see this coming into these areas. Down here, it's already 78% from the high, or from the low to high. Let's get that off. Probably all the way down into 38 cents. I don't think it's going to come all the way down into like the 20 or even lower. I know some people are thinking that it could come back all the way to these lows. I don't think that's going to happen. I think like this 25-cent range is going to hold pretty nicely. But yeah, all these are looking very bearish right now, especially on the lower time frames. It's actually tanking right now. So yeah, crypto market is not looking great. Taking a bit of a fall. Volume's coming up on the bear side. So I just, like I said, definitely would not look to buy them on margin. If you want to do anything, go put whatever you were going to risk on your margin into your Coinbase account, into your KuCoin account, into your Binance account, into whatever account that you're using, and just hold on, because you don't want to just take a buy on these and just lose that money within like 15 minutes. This thing is falling too much. But yeah, I'll be watching mainly tomorrow these pairs that I got highlighted. I need to highlight these as well. I'm going to look at those two mainly. I don't really trade NASDAQ, but for the retracement, the NASDAQ probably looks the best. And yeah, we'll see what these do. And I'll be back on YouTube on Wednesday night or Thursday night, and then for next wave I'll be on every night this week. So AB comes on tomorrow morning, see what he's looking at, see if we can get some setups from him, getting some intraday moves. Other than that, I appreciate everyone who came on, and if y'all don't mind giving us a like and a follow, and yeah, appreciate everyone watching the recording as well. Y'all have a good one. Peace.